Don't get stuff and say, hey, don't do that.
Oh, yeah, big spare. Excuse me just a minute, and we'll call Officer Davis. Answer that, pass the mic, please.
Get a safety.
Don't throw me on the bus.
You know, I'll.
You should have tried to call her by another name.
That's right, Christy. Thank you for having my back when I was out of place.
I said you were ex-executive directors, et cetera, et cetera. That's everything. Be doing the same.
I was gonna be using my new.
Oh.
No, that's really 4 minutes now, right? Okay.
So when they're reading on the slides, they can't see me right, so if I have to do like this. I might have to do something here.
I was going to get with Leon last night. I told him, I said, you're not even speaking yet. What's going on? So look at this. I'm looking at the clock.
Countdown's on.
Count. Hello families, my name is Steve Ellis, Superintendent of Nash County Public Schools. Last year the pandemic brought many challenges to our district. I want to thank you for your support as we navigated through these new orders. Today we'll be answering the questions and concerns you might be having around Plan C. We will review the plan and then answer questions. Thank you again for your participation and your dedication to the students of the Nash County Public School System.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Chris Catalano. I am the Executive Director of Communication, Planning, and Engagement for Nash County Public Schools. Thank you to everyone for joining us tonight for a virtual community information session about reopening schools under Plan C. We started these sessions in a face-to-face format in January of last year as a formal way to tell the district's story. Community information sessions are open to all of our stakeholder groups, and the purpose is to share district information with all families in Nash County Public Schools. That purpose is even more important today in today's COVID-19 world. As Dr. Ellis mentioned, we know you have many questions about reopening schools for the 2020-21 school year, and our hope is that many of those questions will be answered here tonight. We will begin with a presentation by district staff and then move to a question and answer session, beginning with pre-submitted questions that were emailed prior to tonight's meeting, and then transitioning to a live question and answer session where we will select questions from the YouTube live chat to be read to the group and answered. We will end our session tonight at 7:30. So while our hope is that we can get to most of the questions tonight, any remaining questions in the chat and those questions that were repeated will be archived, and answers to them will be posted on the Nash County Public Schools District website. The presentation we will be using for tonight's discussion has been posted in the chat of the YouTube platform for those of you who would like to follow along with us tonight. Welcome, and we're ready to get started. So we're going to begin the presentation portion tonight talking about a communication plan that we've put together to share information and updates with parents and the community. Tonight is one of the items that are in our communication platform. We will host a series of community information sessions throughout the school year in a virtual format, and host various topics throughout the year. We also have, will continue our Parent Advisory Council, which is an invitation-only group of parents, parent representatives from each school across the district. And we are going to expand our advisory councils to include teachers, administrators, and community members. We also have several feedback and informational surveys that have been posted online for parents and the community to respond to. We do have options for those participants who want to submit information to surveys to either call in a response if they don't have access to the internet, or to have a printout of the survey provided to them so that they can give us answers to the questions. As we move through the school year, various surveys will be sent out both for information, to get feedback from everyone, as well as currently we've got some surveys out about student access to the internet and whether students, as we move into other phases of reopening, will need transportation. So be looking for surveys to go out on our website and social media platforms. We also have a series of videos on various reopening topics that will be posted to our website and shared out to social media. We actually just finalized some of those videos today. and we'll be sharing them out with everybody before the end of the week. Those topics will be student and staff safety, remote learning expectations, and our learning management platforms, and many more topics as well. As mentioned, we're going to continue this presentation and then move into a moderated question and answer session.
So at this time, before we go over the plan, I just want to stress that our main objective in developing this plan was to make sure we open schools with students. However, we must also consider the safety of our students as well as staff as we move forward. So at this time, I will briefly go over the reopening plan. First, a brief summary of the 3 plans provided by the governor in July, which was Plan A, which was the minimal social distancing, which included all students and staff on campus with a virtual academy option. Plan B was moderate social distancing. This was the limit density of students and facilities. And this is also with a virtual academy option. Plan C, which is our plan, will be remote learning. All staff on campus and all students are remote learning. However, there is still a virtual academy option. So at this time, we are going to be starting the school year with Plan C, remote learning. All staff on campus, all students are going to be remote learning with the virtual academy option. However, most students will just be remote learning at this time. Our goal is to transition to Plan B as soon as practical. We will attempt to phase in our most vulnerable populations for face-to-face instruction. This would be self-contained, EC, and pre-kindergarten students. This would start September 8th. Some of the factors we are considering when moving to a blended model is metrics in collaboration with the Nash County Health Department. We also have a state scientific advisory board. We're also developing a local Nash scientific advisory board where we will be receiving metrics as to the percentages of COVID-19 in our districts, and that will be one of our metrics we're going to be using to determine if we go to a blended model. We also have staffing concerns, the comfortability of staff members and their attendance, student safety, transportation. At this time, we can only transport around 23 students on buses, so that'll be something we have to determine if we can execute, is how we would transport these students if we do go to a Plan B. There is an example Plan B model up here where a group would be 1 week on and 1 week off, alternating weeks, but there would still be an option for parents if they feel like they do not want to go into Plan B, that we would have the virtual option.
We all can agree that technology is a vital part of remote learning, and to make remote learning a success, we feel that all students should have a device. Last school year, we were already a one-to-one district in grades 3 through 12. We've recently purchased new devices for pre-K through 4th grade. This purchase will help us to fully support the remote learning, allowing all students to have a device. However, please understand that all districts in every state and that are purchasing devices, which has caused a back order. So therefore, our new devices will not be in the hands of our students during the first days of school. We're expecting those devices to arrive in September. However, we are able to still accommodate one-to-one in grades 2 through 12 with our current inventory. On the screen, you will see a list of devices per school level. For our pre-K through K and our 1st grade, we felt that they would benefit using the touchscreen Lenovo Chrome tablets, and that's of course with the case. Our 2nd grade through 4th grade, you see that we're using Lenovo Chromebooks. And if you look further on down, our 6th grade all the way to our 12th grade, they're using the Lenovo Chromebooks as well. And at early college and city, they are using Dell laptops because of the special programs that they need for Windows installation. We can move on to the next slide. All right, so we have help desk. So we have developed a help desk where teachers, students, and families can get technical support. Our technical support can be reached in a number of ways. You can contact us by phone at 252-937-9089, or you can simply complete a support ticket. This information can be found on the district page under Services and Technology. The next section, we're talking about hotspots. It is our intent to provide internet access for all students who are in need. However, we do have a limited supply of hotspots, and those students without any internet access will be issued a hotspot first. We have partnered with Sprint 1 Million. They provide us with free hotspots for our students. We also partnered with T-Mobile and other community partners to secure more hotspots. So if students are interested in hotspots, parents can complete the hotspot request located on the technology section on our district's website. The next section is technology fees. We had a lot of concerns about who pays fees this year, since we're going to be one-to-one across the board. Our fees are $20 a year, and our fees are for our middle and high school students. This is because they already been used to it, and this is the decision that we made for this year.
Good evening. I am Chad Thompson, Executive Director of Secondary Schools, and joining me tonight are Melissa Dancy-Smith, the Executive Director of Elementary Education, and Christy Grant, Director of Exceptional Children. We will present information on student learning. On Wednesday, July the 29th, 2020, Nash Board of Education voted to reopen schools with all students beginning with online instruction. So early college and city high have already started their online instruction on August the 6th. All other students will begin online instruction on August the 17th. In order to ensure our students, parents, and guardians are fully aware of processes, procedures, and general information for online learning, each school has developed orientations and open houses. Orientations and open houses will consist of in-person and virtual meetings. This is, of course, at the parent's preference. They will also be utilized for familiarizing students and parents with digital tools and learning expectations, meeting teachers, whether virtually or in person, and also the distribution of supplies, assessment, and other materials. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Dancy-Smith to continue.
Good evening. This slide is a comparison of where we were in March and our confidence level in supporting students on Monday, August 17th. The commitment that the district has made to principals, families, and students is that we will no longer be reactive, but rather proactive. In the spirit of being completely transparent, from last March to May, Nash County Public Schools, like many other districts, responded to COVID-19 with a reactive posture. As you can see in the spring, there were inconsistent number of hours of teacher availability. There was a focus on a review of concepts and maybe an introduction to new concepts. We used a variety of digital tools. There were flexible daily requirements. Grades were not required in elementary schools, and there was flexibility in our secondary schools. attendance did not count, and there was a reactive support for student internet access. Our commitment as we open the doors to students on August 17th are: we will have up to 4 hours of live, direct, explicit instruction with lessons recorded for students to access later. We will be teaching new content with ongoing review and feedback to our students. We have streamlined our digital tools for families. There will be daily, consistent school with teacher office hours to support small group learning. We will have weekly graded assignments with feedback. Attendance will be taken daily, and we have planned support with Wi-Fi access locations and hotspots. So how will student learning look different? First of all, we've put more accountability in place. As shared previously, attendance will be recorded in Power Schools, and there will be two-way communication processes that have been established for teachers and students. During our parent orientations, and some of those have already begun, schools will share more information about attendance, how attendance is documented, expectations, and forms of two-way communication. Assignments will be graded with ongoing feedback, and there will be consistent in-person instruction per grade span. For an example, in a kindergarten classroom, you could expect about 30 to 20 minutes of digital access for our students. However, in a high school or middle school, that access could be up to 4 hours. There will be consistent learning management systems. Students in our dual language classrooms will receive the same support and access to digital tools as all of our other students. In elementary schools, we will use Google Classroom in grades 3 through 5 and Seesaw in K2. In preschool, we will use Teaching Strategies. In secondary schools, we will use Canvas. We have developed professional development for our staff. We have ongoing training sessions for parents during our orientations and as needed. And we've provided social and emotional lessons for all of our students K-12, for we understand the importance of wrapping around services to support the whole child.
Next, we would like to speak with you about online learning versus the virtual academy. Online learning and virtual academy are very similar. So right now, starting on August the 17th, all students will begin in online learning. That would include any student that also applied for the virtual academy. So all students will begin in online learning. So when we move to the virtual academy, it will look very similar with robust lessons, asynchronous and synchronous lesson planning. Teachers will give information to students in a similar way. So it will look very similar to online instruction. To move further into the virtual academy, if you applied to the virtual academy by tonight at 12, we have extended this date because of tonight's forum. So tonight, that is August 11th by 12 a.m., then your student will be accepted into the virtual academy. All students that apply for the virtual academy are accepted. On September, but you are not, once again, committed at this time. On September the 21st through the 25th, your school will contact you to see if you would like to remain in the virtual academy or if you would go to a blended model if we move in that direction, according to our metrics. So once again, that is September the 21st through the 25th. If you would like to continue with the Virtual Academy as your preference, then your child would remain in the Virtual Academy full online. And once again, Virtual Academy just means full online instruction until December the 23rd, or the remainder of the school year.
Parents, we have heard you and you have been loud and clear. And we have worked hard to try to respond to the questions that you have had about this year's unique learning experiences for our students. One of the most prevalent questions that has come up has been the difference between online learning Plan C and Nash County Public Schools Virtual Academy. In this graphic, we will show you the difference between the two. Online learning is for all students and it's Plan C, pre-K through 12. And it provides an opportunity to move back to in-person instruction when practical. Conversely, with the Nash County Public Schools Virtual Academy, which is offered to grades kindergarten through 12th grade, it is consistent, continuous, online learning. Students will continue this model during the fall and spring. In short, families just don't feel comfortable returning to brick and mortar, and families have no desire to come back on campus. In online learning, Plan C, students participate in learning activities with a certified teacher in person. In the Ncps Virtual Academy, students will participate in learning activities with a certified teacher in person. Students will have anytime access to learning activities and can engage during a time that works for them in Plan C remote instruction. The same is true for Ncps Virtual Academy. Students will participate in learning activities with a certified teacher in person, and they will have access to anytime learning activities that they can engage in during a time that works best for them. In both models, graded work activities will be provided during the week. As Mr. Thompson shared, if a family would like to participate in the virtual academy, our request as a district is that the families remain in the virtual academy for a semester or until the courses are completed. In both models, the following will occur. There will be rigorous standards-based instruction, live instruction. Students will work at their own pace. They will use the same digital platforms. They will have access to the same curriculum. Attendance, grading, and state assessments are required as consistent with Nash County Public Schools School Board policy. In this slide, it's an infographic that shows what a day in the life of Juan, who is a third grade student, would look like doing online instruction. And it doesn't matter whether it's remote or the virtual academy. Juan is a regular education third grade student. In all of our schools, elementary, middle, and high school, the district has set parameters around a typical instructional day. Some families have requested from the district schedules from the time a student initially logs on to the computer to the end of the day, while others have requested assignments and assignment submission dates only. As you can see, Juan logs on each day at 9 o'clock. for in-person learning, but his instructional day begins at 9:15. So that is when the teacher begins teaching, and it ends about 2:45 with breaks that are built in throughout the day. We've taken into consideration a student's age and ability to engage in online learning for a sustained amount of time. Again, for an example, the recommendation for kindergarten can range from 20 to 30 minutes of online instruction. Although the best practice is that students tend to thrive more in a predictable, structured learning environment. We recognize that learning experiences are different for each family, and we pride ourselves in ensuring that we provide equitable learning experiences for all of our learners. What this means is principals will work with families to support a child's learning environment, as we know that all environments do not look the same. At this time, Christy Grant will speak to you about our students with disabilities.
Good evening. In addition to the high-quality instruction being provided to all students, exceptional education teachers and service providers will provide support and services virtually as outlined in each student's individualized education plan or IEP. Students with disabilities will continue to have equal access to the services provided to all students. Additionally, they will have access to their accommodations and modifications, specially designed instruction, and related services to the greatest extent possible. If any part of the IEP cannot be implemented in a virtual setting, the IEP team will meet to determine how to best address each student's needs by developing an online services and support plan. We know that a majority of you want to know what will services look like for my child. Students with disabilities who spend the majority of their day in general education classes follow the same schedule as non-disabled peers in their identified grade, while also engaging in the services identified in the IEP. For example, the EC teacher and the general education teacher will co-teach the class virtually and incorporate components of the IEP throughout the lesson. Students who are removed from the general education classroom by the special ed teacher for more than 20% of the day will continue to engage in small group or individual instruction provided by the EC teacher. The teacher will provide targeted IEP support during scheduled interventions individually and or in small group sessions. Students who are removed from the general ed classes for a majority of the day and accessing the extended content standards will receive instruction in both large and small groups and individually in a virtual setting to address IEP goals as well as the curriculum. Direct instruction may be supplemented with activities which can be completed by the student. Some students will need the support of a parent or caregiver to participate in online instructional activities. All of our teachers and therapists will also have specific office hours to connect and collaborate with parents. Each teacher will discuss their schedule with you during their orientation. If your child receives related services such as speech therapy, occupational and physical therapies, they will be delivered in an online format as well, either in small group or one-on-one as appropriate for the needs of the student. Students enrolled in Virtual Academy will have their IEPs reviewed and a meeting held as needed in order to ensure that the program is individualized for each student. We are committed to meeting the individual needs of all of our students with disabilities across each setting.
As it relates to screening and safety precautions for Nash County schools, our precautions for safety will be for all staff and students, and they will be screened daily and will have social distancing and hand washing reminders placed in high traffic areas. There will be 3 questions that will be asked each day and temperature checks using non-contact thermometers. A temperature of 100.4 or higher is a failed screening. Answering yes to any of the 3 questions is also a failed screening. These screenings for the students will start at the bus stop. K2 students and some of our EC students will need to complete a daily attestation form. These same students, including 3 to 5 students and parents, must be present at the bus stop in the morning and afternoons. Any student who fails the screening at the bus stop must be taken home by the parent. Students riding the bus will be screened again once they reach their school destination. Parents who will be bringing students to school, those students will be screened in the cars. The parents are not allowed to leave until it's determined that the student has passed the daily screening. If the student fails the temperature check, the parent will need to park in a designated place, wait 5 to 10 minutes, so that that student can be screened once again. If the student fails the second screening, the parent must take that student back home. For those students that ride the bus or walk to school and they receive a failed screening, they will also be tested at the school. They are then escorted to an isolation room until the parent can be contacted and pick them up. All students and staff must wear masks or face covering unless there is a medical documentation or reason that they cannot. Students are encouraged to bring their own water bottles daily. They will not be allowed to have use of water fountains. We are in a position to return to school through Plan B or through Plan A. There will be more safety precautions that our district will be taking to implement, and we will be revisiting.
Upon starting school, it is crucial to prioritize addressing social, emotional, and mental health needs in order to help students be ready for learning. Social emotional learning is the process through which children and adults understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. The last few months have been extremely stressful for both employees and students, and stress of this nature will invariably increase levels of fear and anxiety. Everyone reacts differently to stressful situations. Members of our Student Support Services team, including counselors, social workers, psychologists, and nurses, will provide mental and emotional well-being resources for students and families. Additionally, mental health resources have been organized and placed on the district website. Triage is critical in order to identify individuals needing additional support beyond classroom level or core. This process becomes more urgent when students are at home during a remote learning situation and may be living with others or in environments that are conducive for trauma experiences. Individuals already known to be at risk or vulnerable to increased stress responses, mental health challenges, students living in poverty or with mental health or medical conditions, or with loved ones who are at a vulnerable age and could possibly contract the virus. Additionally, communication between teachers and staff from one grade level to the next should be increased regarding students who may be at a higher risk, paying close attention to the students' work, writings, or artwork, which may indicate some level of mental health concerns. We do have a comprehensive plan at the district level to provide mental health and wellness resources to students, families, and staff to address the social and emotional concerns related to COVID-19 during the start of the school year and throughout the school year.
So as you can see, our planning has extended to include all possible reopening scenarios. Our goal in sharing all of this information, from the safety information in the event that students do return to school under Plan B or Plan C, and all of the information about virtual academy and remote learning, was to help parents make informed decisions as we move into the school year. So we are ready right now to begin the question and answer portion of the session tonight. We're going to begin with some pre-submitted questions, and then we'll move to the chat and answer some questions that are in the chat box as well as we go through the evening. So our first pre-submitted question: what accommodations are in place for working parents who work in the morning under Plan C and for students enrolled in Virtual Academy?
appreciate that one. As stated in the presentation, we know that all learning environments will not look the same for all of our students. So we have worked diligently with our school administrators to ensure that they provide flexibility in supporting all families.
Thank you. Second question, this one is from Ms. Donovan Chavis, Board of Education member. Are parents going to receive any type of confirmation of their acceptance in Nash County Public Schools Virtual Academy?
Yes, they will. Starting on August the 17th, we will be sending out physical mailings and as well as emails to parents. If you applied by tonight, once again by 12 a.m., you will be accepted in the Virtual Academy.
Thank you. Third question that was pre-submitted by Nash County Public School parent Carrie Barnes. If we elect not to enroll in Nash County Public Schools Virtual Academy and are not comfortable with sending our child back to the classroom when schools open back up, will we have the option to remain in remote learning?
So we would like for you to apply to the Virtual Academy to take care of that. So if you have a inclination that you may be interested in your child continuing online learning, please apply to the Virtual Academy. Once again, you are not handcuffed in that, but you will be on the list for Virtual Academy.
Thank you. A fourth question from Ms. Donovan Chavis, Board of Education member again. Are hotspot Wi-Fi devices limited in supply? And how will the district determine who gets one?
Yes, that is true. Our hotspots, we are limited in supply. And what we're trying our best to do is give those hotspots to those students who have no internet access at home first.
Thank you. And our final pre-submitted question, again from Ms. Chavis, will food services continue for students, including breakfast and lunch, as they have previously?
Yes, at this time we have 6 schools that will remain open this week, and that is Bailey, Fairview, Nash Central Middle, Red Oak Middle, Spring Hope, and Winston Avenue. And then beginning August 17th through August 31st, we have many others that will be opening between the hours of 11 and 12:30, and those will be assigned on our Facebook page and the school websites.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to move over to the chat box for some questions. The first question that has been repeated quite a bit in the chat box: what are the plans for the class of 2020 seniors this year?
So our plan is to keep a close watch. We're in conversation now as far as class of 2021. We will include stakeholders on any decisions that's made. We are once again keeping a close eye, and we'll have a clear plan for our seniors for the class of 2021.
Thank you. Another question from the chat box: will there be pass-fail grades again this year?
I will jump in first, but I'll also allow Mr. Thompson to chime in as well. We work very closely with the Department of Public Instruction, and as it stands right now, we will not have pass-fail grades. We will use the grading system that has been approved by our school board. So that's numerical for our 312 students. And then for our K2 students, we use standards-based grading.
And I would agree. I know in the spring we utilize PC19 and WC19. That will not be utilized at this point according to North Carolina DPI.
Okay, another question in the chat box. Will students have to stay online from 9:15 to 2:45 every day?
No, that time includes synchronous instruction, which is live interaction with the teacher, as well as asynchronous instruction, which is when the students practice independently those skills. And as shared, using the infographic with Juan, there are built-in breaks. We encourage parents to take students for a walk so they will stay healthy, things of that sort. You will definitely get more guidance from your principals when you have your parent orientations.
Okay, another question. I don't have PowerSchool access because my daughter is just enrolling in school. How do I get access to PowerSchool to get her schedule?
So again, as a part of the parent orientations, your schools will work with you to ensure if you would like access to PowerSchool, that you are able to get access to PowerSchool.
Okay, thank you. A couple questions here. What is the phase-in plan? When can we anticipate students beginning to return via Plan B? And a third one, when will we get more information about the athletics? Shouldn't have read all of those together. Let's start with the Plan B, and then we'll move to athletics.
Yes, I can answer the Plan B. So right now we're thinking of the September 8th, but provided that is just the groups of exceptional children in pre-K. The metrics are going to determine when we start a Plan B. So if the metrics are high and we feel like we can't start, then we won't be starting Plan B.
And as it relates to athletics, when we're in Plan C, due to our priorities with the academics, we will not be participating with athletics until we are able to phase into another part or plan for North Carolina. We're waiting for the High School Athletic Association as well as the governor to make that change. We will tell you that we're very devoted to try to make that the safest process, and we do hope to plan to have athletics as soon as it is safe for all parties.
Okay, Virtual Academy question. If a child is enrolled in Virtual Academy, will they be allowed to participate in extracurricular activities?
Great question. Yes, if you're enrolled in our Virtual Academy, you can participate at whatever your home school is. So wherever you will be enrolled, you will be able to participate. And once we go into practices and or games, you will be able to participate. Even though you will be virtual all day, you can participate in the practices and games once we are clear to be able to participate.
Question, what about parents that work and have enrolled their child in Virtual Academy but can't help them with breaks throughout the day for learning?
So with that one, we would encourage you to talk with your teacher that you're involved in. We will be looking at individual basis. We understand the flexibility that is needed with families. So we will definitely, our teachers and principals will work with our students individually on those things.
And another question, how do you enroll in Virtual Academy?
So you enroll, first of all, you apply to the Virtual Academy, and we can, if you will send that in the chat, we can get that information to you. That's the first. And then remember, we all are starting in Plan C, so everyone is online at this time, all students. The virtual would come in when we move to a Plan B model.
Okay, the Virtual Academy application has been posted in the chat. When will students find out what classes they're in?
So through our open houses and orientations, your principals and the staff at the school will make sure that you have your schedule. Remember, those will be virtual or in person according to the parent preference, parent and guardian preference.
Will students who signed up for Virtual Academy have the same classes they had signed up for last year?
So the students in Virtual Academy will have whatever will be scheduled in their 2021 schedule. Those will be the classes that they begin with. So they will have the same class as if they were going face-to-face traditional school, just like all other students.
Thank you. Another question, this one's not about Virtual Academy. What determines a child's attendance? Is it logging in to a portion of the online program, or are there other options?
So again, we work really closely with the Department of Public Instruction to ensure that we are following the guidance that has been provided by them. But attendance could be documented with two-way communication. That could be a phone call, that could be an email from a student to a teacher, as well as logging on to the program. So for some of our parents who have shared that they're working all day and students may not access the platform, whenever the child submits the assignment, the attendance is recorded. So for an example, if a teacher is holding a Zoom meeting, and I'll use my daughter's name, Jordan does not log on at 9:15 for that Zoom meeting, she will be documented as absent because she's not in attendance. Well, when the teacher goes back, and the teacher may see that Jordan submitted her assignment via email, then the attendance will change for Jordan because she's completed the assignment at the due date. So she would be marked present for that class.
Okay. Will parents have the option of viewing or having a teacher available after 5 p.m. if they work? Viewing the lessons, I think, is what they mean by that.
So we shared that we will be recording lessons, if I think I understand the question accurately. We will record lessons, so parents will have an opportunity to go back and review those lessons. In secondary and elementary schools, a lot of our lessons that students will engage in may be instructional resources from different vendors. So those links may be in Seesaw, Canvas, Google Classroom, and it will allow parents to go back and maybe view any videos that may have been shared with with students, as well as any recordings that teachers have made of themselves teaching the lessons.
Thank you. A question, does remote learning or virtual academy accommodate IB students' schedules?
Yes, if you remember, we said the Virtual Academy students, whatever teacher they start with will be where they finish, so those will be paired with an IB class.
Okay, and same question about the early college high school.
Yes, there are some cases that Virtual Academy will work, knowing though that also early college meets with the regular college at Nash Community. So they will have college classes as well that may require in-person attendance.
A question about hotspot devices. How do parents request and receive hotspots?
Okay. To request a hotspot, you just simply go on the district website, go under services and technology. There's a link there to say, I think it says hotspot request. You want to go there, fill out that information, and you will receive information on how and when to pick it up from your school.
A virtual academy enrollment question, another one. If a student does not enroll in virtual academy now, does that mean in December when the semesters change, they will not be able to be in virtual academy?
So I think once a semester is over, we're going to have to reevaluate and look at where we're at with our metrics and what plan we're in. So once the semester is over, then we will reevaluate as far as semester classes.
What happens if the student loses internet connection? Would they be counted absent? And if so, how could the parent help get that issue corrected?
So if a student has engaged with the teacher, they've logged into the platform, whether it's Zoom, Canvas, Seesaw, Google Classroom, they will not be counted absent as long as the teacher knows that there has been some engagement.
Okay. If online learning begins on the 17th, but a child does not have their open house scheduled until the 19th, how can they get their schedule?
So if you have a situation like that, whichever school it is, we will ensure that your principal will arrange your schedules, that you know clearly where your schedule is. They will communicate with you in some form to ensure that you have a schedule by the 17th.
Thank you. How will breakfast and lunch schedules be handled when we return to Plan B, or if we return to Plan B?
Great question. At this time in Plan B, the governor has rolled out some guidelines. They are not to include the cafeteria area. We do have a lot of sanitation that we have implemented, and we will still be revisiting this, but at this time the breakfast and lunch will be served, but it will be served in the classroom.
Got a lot of questions here. When will parents of special needs students receive more information about accommodations from therapists?
We actually met with all of our therapists today, and they should be contacting you within the next couple of days to start. I'm assuming from Accommodations that would be setting up services and arranging the services with you. So if you have not heard from them by probably the end of the week, then I would let myself know, or let your teacher know at your school that you haven't heard from anybody, so they can get services set up for you. As far as accommodations, we're going to be reviewing all of the IEPs, so you will be contacted if we need to have an IEP meeting.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask two questions together. They're very similar. Will band be virtual, and how will orchestra be scheduled?
So this time, I know that band directors are reaching out to students and talking through some of that. As far as the scheduling, we will be sure that we post that so that you know the full schedule on that. But as far as band itself, there will be band still, but there may be a few, a variety of things going on right now with the band as far as playing instruments and so forth.
A question about kindergarten. Will kindergartners, and I think probably also first graders, receive packets while they don't have devices early on?
Yes, kindergarten students as well as first graders will receive packets if they do not have access to a personal device. If those students can access the resources using a personal device, then they will not need packets, because packets will mirror whatever we're sending home digitally.
Okay. Another question, if you signed up for Virtual Academy for one semester, will you have the option to sign up for the second semester if you're not comfortable with your child going back to school?
Yes, and once again, at that point, we would open up and talk through the metrics and what plan we're moving towards, and then give some options at that point.
What about school computer? If a child is having difficulty with their computer, how do they get that fixed?
Well, if a child is having difficulty with their computer, they simply will log on to the site and either call the help desk number, or either fill out a support ticket, and they can get there by going to the district website, services, and then technology, and you should see help desk, and that should have some information there that they can call in.
Thank you. How will parents know how students should log into the portals for online learning before the 17th?
I can speak for the elementary schools, because those are the principals that I work very closely with. But some of the schools have begun having orientations this week. So if, with the exception of kindergarten and maybe a few other grade levels, most parents should be able to access all of the platforms through the orientations no later than Friday.
With secondary schools, that's the same. You should also be able to reach out to your teacher, which with your schedule, and your teacher will be reaching out to students to talk through their LMS and how it will proceed the rest of the semester.
We also have recorded 3 videos today for parents and for daycare providers across the district, so that they can view just basic login information for the 3 learning management platforms. And our hope is that those will be posted to our website at least by the beginning of next week, if not later this week. So that information will be there as well. Will driver's education classes be held this year for high school students?
Yes, the plan is to have driver's ed. It will be virtual for the book part, and then there should be arrangements made for the driving part a little later.
Okay, and there is a question about getting accepted into Virtual Academy. So is there an acceptance process or not?
So if you apply to the Virtual Academy, you will be accepted, but we are going to send follow-up documentation starting on the 17th that you have been accepted in the Virtual Academy as a record.
Will there be separate instructional time or additional instructional time to accommodate AIG students? Or what accommodations will be in place for them?
Yes, in our schedules, we have built in intervention and enrichment time. Those times could be used for our EC resource students as well as our AIG students. Ironically, I had a meeting with the AIG teachers today, and a lot of our AIG teachers co-teach, which means they support the teacher of record doing regular instruction, but students' DEPs will be followed, and we will differentiate for our AIG students as we need to.
Are there textbooks for any classes, and if so, how will students obtain them?
So I'll start off with secondary and then let Ms. Nancy Smith speak of elementary. So secondary, that is middle school and high school. The majority of our textbooks are digital, and students can access them digitally already. And so they will be able to access those through the learning management system from their teacher as far as the core resources.
And in elementary schools, we use a blended model, so some of the resources are digital, but a lot of those resources are print materials. And what the elementary principals and I have discussed, if they are practice workbooks, they need to go home with students.
Thank you. Can a child use their own device and still be able to do all of the same things that they would be able to do with a school device?
I'm trying to make that question, the answer as clear as I can. Yes, we actually encourage parents and students, if they have adequate devices at home, to use those devices, and they are not required to get a district device right now if they have adequate devices at home. And this will allow for more devices to be passed down to our kindergarten and first grade classes until we get our new devices across the board.
Thank you. Are there any plans to resume any of the work programs for special needs students this year?
Hopefully, we will get to that point. When we return as practical in phasing in our exceptional children, going out into the community may be an area that we do not do right now. We will follow the schedule that our CTE classes have with their work study hours as well. We will, once we phase into the school building, do the school-based hours and do some work within the school. But in terms of going out to the community, I do not see that happening anytime soon.
Okay, there are several questions about how parents receive information about orientations and open houses from various schools. So we do have that information posted on our district website for the schools. As the plans are finalized, there's a document that is in the reopening section of the district website. I did include the link to that in the chat box a ways up. I'll include it again before we end for the evening. So that information is there. I do know that all of the schools are also communicating that information out from the principals. So if you haven't gotten information from your school, I would definitely reach out to them, because it may mean that they don't have accurate contact information for you. And I know all of our schools are trying to make sure that they update all of our databases so we can get in contact with parents. So if you haven't heard about your orientation or open house, definitely call the school and ask some questions. We have over 400 people on with us tonight, and so I am missing some of these questions. We will definitely come back to them and post them on our website. We, let's see if I can find one. Looking ahead to the next phase, how do we plan to navigate concerns from parents or teachers when there's a child covered under the exemption for no mask?
I'm assuming you're saying if they're not wearing a mask in school. So there are about 5 or 6 reasons why a child would not wear a mask in school. And if they fit under that criteria, then they're not allowed to wear a mask. However, all other kids will be wearing a mask in school.
And we will still, all classrooms, when we do move into that phase, will be set up for social distancing and all of those other guidelines. So our hope is that when we move into that phase, we'll be at a place where that's going to be a safe thing for us. And let's see, what time does virtual learning or remote learning start and end for high school students?
So virtual learning, once we get to that point, once again, I want to reemphasize that everyone's in online right now, but once we move to a plan B, Virtual learning will run along with just like a regular schedule, because once again, the hopes are that those students will remain with their teacher they began with.
Okay, thank you. Will there be any one-to-one teacher availability so teachers can provide one-on-one assistance?
Every teacher in the district has set up office hours. Some of the office hours are before school, maybe from 8 until 9 o'clock. And then some of the office hours are at the end of the day. Again, I feel strongly that most teachers will be flexible, as principals will work with families within reason, understanding that our teachers also have families to go home to as well.
Okay, there have been several questions related to National Honor Society and the packets and that process for this year.
So at this point, this will be in discussion with our principals, and we will find the best solution at coming up with a process for the way we need to handle National Honor Society.
Okay, I know that this one has been answered, but there have been several questions about it already, so I'm going to repeat the question. Do we need to reapply for Virtual Academy if we never received, we have not received confirmation yet?
If you have applied for Virtual Academy, then you do not need to reapply. We have your name on the list. So once again, you do not have to reapply if you have applied for Virtual Academy.
Okay, will students be required to turn on their cameras during remote instruction, or will audio suffice?
We would prefer to see students' beautiful faces. However, it is not a requirement. Students can call in, so audio will suffice.
Okay, so several schools have scheduled virtual orientations. How do parents who are not able to attend those handle that situation?
I would encourage you to work with your school principals and teachers and deal with that on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. How will we manage class transitions when we're in Plan B if there are large amounts of students in the hallway at the same time?
So we have safety measures already in place. 6 feet apart. We're having right now tape. We've got signs. We have all the safety measures in place at this time for when kids transition and we get to Plan B. I think we'll be ready.
In terms of Nash Community College classes, are any of them face-to-face, and how is that handled?
So right now, most of Nash Community College courses are online. There will be some lab situations where very small numbers of students will be required to go if they need to complete a credential, but the majority of Nash Community courses are online.
Okay, and a question about protecting teachers during this time. Is there a plan in place for teacher safety as we move into, as we have moved into the school year?
Davis will be glad to answer that question.
Again, we have several things put in place, protocols. Once we move into the Plan B phase, Plan C, teachers will be isolated in classrooms. We have PPE equipment available for all staff and students once we transition into that.
Thank you. This is another similar question, but it's been asked several times. Is there a flexible schedule where a child could start their day maybe at 10 o'clock instead of 9, as long as they complete their assignments to accommodate parents' work schedules?
Yes. Yes, but in the event that that happens, parents are strongly encouraged to work with teachers and principals. So in short, open communication is critical on both parts, the parents as well as the schools, if remote instruction is going to be effective.
A technology question: if parents have adequate devices at home, where can they take the school devices that they do not need?
They can take those devices back to their home school. They should make sure that they contact the school to let them know that they're going to come, so they can schedule a time to pick up those devices. But yes, please bring them back.
Okay. Is Nash County Public Schools providing masks?
Yes, we'll be providing masks for all students and staff, and at some point any visitors who may need to enter the building once that's allowable.
What are plans for pre-kindergarten students?
As Dr. Ellis shared, our plan is to transition our pre-kindergarten students back to school when it is reasonable to do so. But right now, our target date is September the 8th. Teachers are still in the process of making home virtual visits to families. If we have a pre-kindergarten family that does not feel comfortable sending a child to school, however you would like to receive those services, remote options are available.
Okay, and another technology question. If a child has a district device and they need to keep it, do they need to bring it back to the school for any reason? To have it reset or any other reason?
So I think I hear this, if a student has a device from last year, then
Yes.
they need to bring it in. No, they can keep the device and it should be ready to be usable right now, so there's no need for them to bring it back in.
What about the students who participate in Jumpstart?
Okay, well, let me go back to Jumpstart. We had a program this summer for Jumpstart, and there were some devices that were issued to those Jumpstart students. They were issued devices, and we're allowing them to keep those devices. But let me go back to the when we first went into the COVID season. We did one-to-one, and some of those students, the elementary students that were issued devices, have not brought them back. So parents, if you have students in the elementary school that have not brought their machines back, then please get those machines back to the school, because we need them. Okay? And especially those who transition from 5th grade to 6th grade, those devices need to be, they need to come back to the school.
Jermaine,
Yes.
if they are 5th graders, should they be returned to the base school or to the rising, to the middle school?
They can turn them into the Rising School. We can take it from there. We just need to get it at the school. That's a good question. Thank you.
Ms. Grant, there are several questions related to IEPs. Is there a date all IEPs will be updated and available with new standards around the new school process, and will IEPs be distributed to teachers for this school year?
We have a program, ECATS, in our district that every teacher in our district, regular ed and EC, have access to. So once a teacher is assigned to Power School to a regular ed teacher and is put on their roster, then they have access to the students' records immediately. So we will not be passing out IEPs because they will have access in our state platform of ECATS. As far as the IEP meetings, we are in the process of training our staff on the new process that we have for addressing supports in an online environment. And we will start with our children that we're going to phase in our, look at our phase-in plan for first, our pre-K and our self-contained students, and then work from there. IEP meetings will only be held if the current IEP cannot be implemented in a virtual setting, and we have to add some additional supports or accommodations in order to help the student. At any time a parent can request an IEP meeting, or if we start to see the students is struggling through reviewing of grades and attendance, then we will also have an IEP meeting. But I would say that with all the students that we have within the next 30 days, you should have heard about an IEP meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson, a question related to high schools. Can you reiterate again about the attendance policy specific for high school students every day?
Yes, the attendance is just as Ms. Nancy Smith said, that there is a two-way communication that can be enacted as counting as the attendance being present. Also, students completing the work can count as a measure of being present. We encourage that students are in live sessions when teachers have them. That is a great expectation for students to excel in the courses that they're in. If they miss a live session and that student completes the work, they will, if they miss a live session, they will be counted absent. If they make up the work or do the work on the assigned date, then the teacher can go back and mark them present. But we're asking, once again from a high school level, that students attempt to attend all online sessions, live sessions, if all possible. That's going to be a high expectation this year.
If a student, a virtual academy student, goes back to school, chooses to go back to school for Plan B, when that plan is in place, will they have the same teacher for consistency, or will that teacher change?
So once again, when we go to a Plan B, our hopes and our plans are for that student to keep the same teacher as we move into Plan B, so that their learning continues and it will not be impeded for the rest of the semester.
And so along those lines, this has been posted in the chat several times. Can students do their work any time of day as long as they do the work?
So as an educator, our preference would be for students to log on and have some live instruction with teachers and follow the schedules that the schools have set. But again, we're flexible. We understand that children need different learning environments. So that would not be our preference as a professional educator, but schools will work with families as they need to.
If a middle school student is now in high school, do they keep the same device?
Yes, from our last year, our 7th grade, 8th grade, 7th through 12th grade all had Chromebooks. So if they're transitioning from the middle school to the high school, then they are using the same type of device. So it's the same device and they can keep it.
And another device question, if they never got a device last year, if they don't still have their device, how do they get one?
Okay. If they don't have a device this year, they simply will contact their school, we'll make that request, and what we will do is look at our inventory system and just kind of make sure that there is not a device assigned to students, and then we'll get that device to them.
several questions regarding supply lists. What supplies will be needed, or how do they get a list of supplies that the schools are recommending? Many schools have posted that information on their websites already, have shared it out on social media. Again, we've got a page on our district website with all of the school-specific reopening information that they've shared. And so those schools that have shared supplies, the link to their supply list is there as well. That is something that the schools will cover in their orientations, though. How will students know when there will be live sessions?
So each teacher, each grade level, will actually work off a learning management system. So in secondary, that's middle school and high school, they will use Canvas. Elementary will use Seesaw and Google Classroom. And all of the communications, the work that is set for the day will move through those learning management systems. So the student will know each day what's expected. And also, that's also where assignments will be posted and all of the things related to class.
And also, Mr. Thompson and I have worked with principals to ensure that we have consistent schedules that are as structured as reasonable. So that's another thing that will be in place. Parents can expect to log on at the same time every day unless they've had a conversation with the teacher, sharing that something has come up and maybe they can't log on. The one thing that we have found out as we have researched remote learning and online instruction, consistency and structure on both ends really work best when you are working in this type of environment.
We also will have videos with screenshots of what all of those platforms look like. So parents, you can log on to the website and see a video that Mr. Danny Plyler has put together for each one of those learning management systems. And you'll be able to see from a student's perspective exactly what they should be looking at and looking for. So be looking for those videos that will be out there, and you can kind of stand over your child's shoulder and make sure that they're logged on and you know where all of the necessary information is. It is 7:22, so we're going to take one additional question and then we'll be finished for the night. Let's see if I can. Will there be any fees, and how do we pay them? So I guess we'll start with
I can
you.
speak with for technology fees. You want to pay technology fees, you can pay online or you can pay in person. You have to just make sure that you contact your school and just make an appointment for you to come on site. But you can go online at our district website and again go under services and technology, and you should see online payments. And I think it's at the first screen too. If you go to the district site, yeah, that's correct. That's one of those circles.
And if you were referencing child nutrition or school nutrition, I can share with you that on the website, you will be able to go under school nutrition. There is an application that you can fill out for this year and not have to wait for the paper version. DPI has approved that, but they are not printed and at the schools at this time. But that is in Spanish and in English online and on our main webpage and on your school's webpage. Also, there is a link there where you can pay your fees online. And if you're in a CEP school, and they are listed there as well, then there will be no fees. And at the beginning of school, while we are in Plan C, at this point up to August the 31st, we will be providing drive-through services, and there is no charge for that. And when you drive through at the lunch, you will be able to receive a lunch and a breakfast daily.
Thank you. I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Ellis to close us out for this evening, and then I'll share some information about what's coming next with everyone.
So in closing, I want to thank you for your participation tonight. You know, with the many questions, these are definitely challenging times, and we understand. As a father of 4, 3 being teachers and 1 being a student, I do understand the safety issue, because that is going to be definitely one of the big metrics we consider when we're moving forward in this plan. The questions around Virtual Academy, I want to assure the parents that it is our goal for each student to have a teacher, provide rigorous instruction, accountability, standards, so that they're just not going to be sitting at a computer on a program. We want to make sure that this is a rigorous course and that they will be held accountable, because we want to make sure we're providing the best education we can. Please refer to our county website, the school's website, because it's so important now to communicate with the school, the teacher, because you're not in the building. So please make sure you send emails, you call, to make sure we have a clear line of communication so we can answer some of these questions. Once again, thank you for being here tonight, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Dr. Ellis. As I mentioned, we will be taking all of the questions from the chat tonight. I know there were several that we didn't have a chance to get to. They were coming in quicker than I could read them for a little bit there. So we will definitely go back to the chat and make sure that we post the answers in our district website. I will one last time actually post the link to the district website in the chat. It's there right now. If we could go to that last slide for us. Possibly. There we are. So our district website is listed here. We also have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Anything that we put on the district website is also shared out on those 3 social media platforms, as well as Connect Ed messages. So we will be sending messages out as we have in the past through Connect Ed as we move into this school year. And all of our schools use those same 3 platforms, that their websites, social media, and Connect Eds, to share information with you. So if you haven't received information from your schools, again, please reach out to them and make sure that they've got your contact information so that they can make sure that you're informed as we move into the 2021 school year. Thank you for everyone who joined us tonight, and have a good evening.